Hi, the sun is about to set in another minute, 30 seconds or so in Montevideo, Uruguay. Hey, why not do the sunset report right now? I'm ready. Maybe I'll be able to squeeze in a full beach trip later if I do it now. Well, it's getting a little interesting for President Trump. No one forced him to take the job. He knew what the swamp in Washington would be. Look, you know the analogy about a cornered rat. A cornered rat is going to fight, and there is a reason people in Washington, in the media, and in the Democrat Party and the rhinos are so threatened by him. And you knew they would throw this at them, that the standard would be 1/100th of what it was for Barack Obama when it came to what he could get away with in office. They'll exaggerate anything. But that's not the point of this video. The point of the video is it's getting a little challenging out there. And maybe my advice could be helpful. I don't know. It's as good an idea as anything. You can see in the headline, in the header here, that it's related to Genesis chapter 12, verse 3, which, of course, reads, and this is talking to Abraham and really the people of Israel and their descendants. And I will bless those who bless you, and the one who curses you I will curse, and all the families of the earth shall be blessed in you. In other words, that means be nice to the Jews. And that means, in practical terms, don't F with Israel. You know, maybe things will divinely go your way a little bit better if you stop being wishy-washy about the commitment to Israel that you made it sound like you had during the campaign season, at least. We'll get to that in a second. Background information. President Trump is going next week to Saudi Arabia first, then Israel, then the Vatican. I think that's the order. And what's interesting is on the Jewish calendar, at least the 50th anniversary of the liberation of Jerusalem, which had been occupied by Arab Muslims and pretty much run into the ground there. The Holy Temple, or the Western Wall, was used for a dumping ground. It was basically involved humiliating the Jews, the treatment of the holiest place in Judaism, which is not the holiest place in Islam. Things only become holy in Islam a lot of the time because they were holy to someone else, and it shows Islamic supremacy to build a mosque on top of something there. Certainly the history of the Golden Dome Mosque in Islam, which didn't coincidentally just happen to be on the site of the Holy Temple there. And of course, after Arab armies invaded Israel in 1948, but Israel achieved independence, but they did not hold on to that part of Jerusalem. In 1967, Arab armies attacked again, and Israel whipped their butts, particularly in that war, in 6 days, the Six-Day War in 1967, June 1967, and on the Jewish calendar, it'll come out to late May this year. Well, anyhow, the point is, President Trump is going to be in Israel the day before the 50th anniversary. It is set up that it would be a perfect time to announce that after many presidents have not followed through on their original promises to move the American embassy in Israel from Tel Aviv, which a lot of the people like to pretend is the capital of Israel and was before 1967, to Jerusalem, the capital of Israel, the holiest place in Jerusalem. Trump has made that promise. His daughter is converted to Judaism or something. Jared is a Jew. Hey, he said he was going to do it. Now he's taking a step back because, what a surprise, the Arabs might be offended. We wouldn't want to offend the Arabs because they've been so well behaved. The Muslims have been so well behaved everywhere. So, who knows? Who knows what is really going to happen next week? But I'll tell you one thing, the timing of it, if he does not follow through on the move of the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, is a real slap in the face, not only to Israelis, but to Jews everywhere, and to people who support the Jews and the state of Israel everywhere. That's clear. So that's where Genesis chapter 12, verse 3 comes in. And who knows? If you believe in God, you believe he controls everything. Maybe Donald Trump is being tested right now. Maybe what this is really about is saying, I'm in charge, I can bring you down if I need to, but we'll see. We're going to test you. Remember Genesis chapter 12, verse 3. I don't know. I'm not a prophet. That's just the way it seems to me. What does he have to lose? Because the media, the Democrats, the rhinos, the John McCain's, I don't even know what category he and Bill Kristol and those types are just creeps, I guess. Maybe he's being tested. So another thing on that, that's not the only issue where he's done Israel wrong. He shared classified Israeli information with Russia against Israel's will. And that's not cool, man. That's not cool. How many years did Jonathan, if we're all allies, I didn't know Russia was an ally to that extent. Israel's an ally to that extent. Remember how many years Jonathan Pollard was in jail for sharing information about Israel's security with Israel. And he got an unprecedented sentence. He finally was commuted, was it a year or 2 years ago, a year and a half ago maybe, by Barack Obama. Not really a friend of the Jews. Maybe Trump wants to take money out of his own pocket and give some restitution as a sign of goodwill to Jonathan Pollard for all he went through, when clearly the standards are a little loose in Trump's mind. I don't know, and we don't even know the full story there. I'm just saying, pay attention, President Trump, to Genesis chapter 12, verse 3. Now, there are a lot of people out there who are a lot smart. Oh, wait. I want to just share this from the Daily Wire. From Joshua Yazmeh. I think I've interviewed 4 people from the Daily Wire in just the 2.5 weeks of backlash on Shark Nation Radio. Details in the header here. This was just a comment I thought should be included related to the classified information President Trump shared with Russia. Classified information that came from the excellence of Israel's intelligence agencies. He wrote in part of an article called "Israel Reportedly the Source of Classified Information." Accordingly, if the President of the United States, the leader of the free world with the highest level of security clearance, is revealing information inappropriately, other U.S. allies may think twice about sharing intelligence out of fear that it may fall into the wrong hands. The fact is, sharing Israeli intelligence won't just deter Mossad or Shin Bet from working closely with the American counterparts, it sets a bad precedent, period. Now, someone who's more intelligent than I am, Rabbi Baruch Wolf, he's out there in sort of the border between Queens and Long Island, up north. He's just going to elaborate. He just commented right there. He writes, when he seems to signal that he's going to renege on promise to move the embassy to Jerusalem, he has the worst week of his young presidency. Great point. And Rabbi Wolf has a lot of insights, and I'm going to read some of them, but they're not so directly related to Trump. They're just interesting for those of you who like biblical commentary. So I'm going to read this, and it applies to so much more beyond Trump. And hopefully I'll do it justice. He wrote this specifically for this Sunset Report. He writes, "Here is what I've prepared. The Jewish people have bound themselves to God through the covenant of keeping his 613 commandments to the letter of the law, to the extent possible, or at the very least to invest the effort to best of ability. God adopted us as his children when we agreed to accept his commandments. After all other nations declined." That's based on Midrash, which is a commentary on the Torah. Or based on, or is it, what's the best translation of Midrash? Sort of laws, commentary on the Torah. The verse of chapter 12, verse 3 actually follows a couple verses that has a deeper meaning of God addressing the Jews to depart their own ways and desires and go to where God's destiny he has determined for you is, through fulfillment of following in the Torah's ways. Following this, God addresses Abraham, and by extension his descendants, "I will bless those who bless you and curse those that curse you." Interestingly, in today's Torah portion, in chapter 26 of Leviticus, that's the reading for today, the whole reading is for the whole week, but it's split into 7 parts. In today's Torah portion, in chapter 26 of Leviticus, the Torah enumerates the tremendous blessings received when the Jews are following in God's ways, followed by the tremendous pain if not. So this is particularly applicable to Jews, but it also applies, another part of it, of the reading this week, applies to Trump and everyone else, for that matter. A Jew's entire life should be guided by the value system of the Torah, the mitzvos, which means the commandments of the Torah, are the very life of a Jew. As the Talmud, that's commentary on the various rules. It's basically the book of Jewish learning, the most important one outside of the Torah. As the Talmud points out with the Talmud is the oral Torah. As the Talmud points out with the analogy, man is like fish of the sea. For just as the fish of the sea die as soon as they come onto dry land, likewise man will die if he separates himself from Torah and mitzvos. Mitzvos, again, being commandments. Again, I said I was going to digress from the Trump issue, but it all sort of relates. So Rabbi Wolf continues, so from our perspective, we must oblige to our duties as God's sons, and we know we have the disciplinary actions from our Father in heaven if we fail, and the reward when we're on the proper path. But for a non-family member, he is supposed to love unconditionally and leave the discipline for the Father. Hence the nations of the world. That applies to Donald Trump, maybe not his daughter at this point. Hence the nations of the world, if they love God, they must love his children. It's a package deal, and if they abuse us, even if we spiritually deserve the rough periods that we go through, and we've gone through them, not me personally, but we in the general sense, you know that. If we spiritually deserve the rough periods that we go through, God will punish them because they mustn't be the volunteers to deliver the pain upon the Jewish people. By the way, how are things working out for Germany these days? Just saying. And, you know, what kind of curse is this? It's almost as if God doesn't even have to bother cursing them because Merkel's doing it well enough herself. You know, the Germanic people were there in Roman times. How much longer will they be there? And maybe Merkel is the curse that was brought for the German people. I don't know. And by the way, things aren't going so well these days in New Pakistan, formerly known as the UK. But keep in mind, they were on the US's side. But how many Jews did they prevent from getting to Israel during the Holocaust? We know the British hands aren't so clean when it comes to all this. And how are things going for Britain? Just continuing with Rabbi Wolf said only a little bit more. An outsider's job is to love the children of those they love, period. So those that stand by the Jewish people are rewarded, and those that don't, the disrespect that Israel receives from most of the world's nations will and does only cost them, and respect to Israel will yield them the blessings promised by God himself. Herself? LOL. Okay. A light moment there from Rabbi Wolf. And by the way, yeah, of course it's self-serving, but I'm just the messenger here in this case. Final paragraph from Rabbi Wolf here. Two more paragraphs. Any indication by the nations of Jews, any indication by the non-Jewish nations of Jews not being entitled to the crumb of land promised to us by God is a grave disrespect. That applies to the embassy in Tel Aviv, which should be the embassy in Jerusalem, President Trump. Not to mention that per capita, the landmass of Arab lands, or maybe he means all Muslim lands, I don't know the exact calculations here, but it's striking, are north of 100,000%, not a mistype, of Israel's puny size. In fact, Israel occupies only 0.0000148% of the world's total landmass. Shocking, I know, but true. And if you factor in the land per capita, the Arabs still blow us out of the water, just magnifying the obscene prejudice of those who have the notion of Israel as occupiers of our ancestral homeland. Yes, and Rabbi Wolf adds that the Brits committed a massacre of Jews in York. I think that was in the 1200s, but that's certainly true. I've been to York in northern Britain. Final note he has, the world's total land, is his calculation, the world's total land mass consists of 57.5 million square miles of inhabitable land. Israel's total land mass is 8,522 square miles. So the planet is 6,750 times larger than Israel, and even this tiny amount of land we occupy, anti-Semites claim we're not entitled to. So all social justice warriors ought to fight that Israel should be at least a dozen times larger than its current size and should absorb Jordan, Lebanon, the Sinai, etc. Of course, the Sinai was not biblically, well, some say it is biblically promised, but there's some question about that one. Should absorb Jordan, Lebanon, the Sinai, etc., just to maintain social justice and equilibrium. So that's from Rabbi Baruch Wolf. Look, President Trump, as far as I know, and I'm not a prophet, so I don't know, you may be being tested. And Rabbi Wolf made a great point there about how all the fecal matter is hitting the fan right after you reneged on your promise about moving the embassy to Jerusalem. Stand by Israel. Maybe things will work out for you. Just saying. Shalom.